Okay, these notes go in your HBS course file. These are range of motion notes. Okay, so there are 3 inserts that show examples on top of that of the different terms that we're going to define. So take this one in like this so I can see underneath. All right, so range of motion. Rotation is circular motion in which the limb rotates on an axis. So it's kind of like shaking your head no. Rotation is a circular motion in which a limb rotates on an axis. Circumduction is a circular motion in which the limb traces out a circle. So if this is my limb, it's tracing out a circle. Rotation, it is just rotating on its axis. Circumduction, so let's say this is finger or something, it's tracing out a circle. Flexion. Flexion is a movement that decreases the angle between the bones of a joint. Flexion is a movement that decreases the angle between the bones of the joint. So for example, if you hold your arm out with the palm up and you bend at your elbow until your fingers touch your shoulder, that is a flexion. Extension is a movement that increases the angle between the bones of a joint. So basically you're straightening out a joint. Extension is the movement that increases the angle between the bones of the joint, straightening out a joint. So you have your arm out, palm up, you bend at the elbow until your fingers touch your shoulder, that's flexion. Then if you extend your arm back out, you straighten your arm back out, that's extension. Hyperextension is excessive straightening beyond the normal range of motion. So when you have your arm extended, if you extend it past what is the normal range of motion, past what is comfortable, then that's hyperextension. Abduction, if you're abducted, you're taken away. So abduction is when you move a limb away from the median of the body. ABD, abduction, if you're abducted, you're taken away. So abduction, that range of motion is when you move a limb away from the median of the body. Adduction, ADD, if you add something, you're adding to it, you're moving the limb toward the median of the body. Adduction, ADD, you move the limb toward the median of the body. Elevation is moving in an upward direction. So like if you shrug your shoulders, if you shrug them up, you're elevating your shoulders. Elevation is moving in an upward direction. Depression is moving in a downward direction. So after you elevate your shoulders, if you let them go, you're moving in a downward direction. Plantar flexion. Plantar indicates the sole of the foot. So this is the extension of the ankle. You're pointing your foot downwards. So the sole of the foot, the bottom of the foot. Plantar flexion, extension of the ankle. And that's when you move your foot so that you're pointing your foot downwards. Dorsiflexion, whoopsies. Dorsiflexion, dorsal, backside of the hand, backside of the foot. Dorsiflexion, the flexion of the wrist or ankle. So not the extension, but the flexion of the wrist or ankle. So you point your foot upward or move your hand so that the fingers point upward. Dorsiflexion. So the tool that we use for range of motion is called the goniometer. So the goniometer has 2 arms. It has a stationary arm and a moving arm. The fulcrum is the little rivet that holds the 2 arms together. So whenever you use the goniometer, you put that fulcrum on the joint. This arm is going to stay stationary, so whatever is going to stay still, that's what this arm is going to be lined up with. this arm of the goniometer is at whatever limb is actually going to be moving, and so this moving arm follows the motion of the limb that's moving. Goniometer.